So my mum and dad were addicts.
Drink, drugs, both?
Both, yeah. You know, I always had this real passion, like a hunger, if you like a thirst for, you know, for knowing my dad. Oh, I'd taken drugs ever since I was about 11.
All the way until?
Yeah, just weed for the first few years, and then took that natural progression to, you know, trips. And I think when the cocaine started, and once that door opened, it never really went away. Taxed so many people money and drugs off people, you know.
Drug dealers who taxed them, so they had to pay you.
The last one I done, I think I was about 33, and I got stabbed 3 times. It was a love fighting in jail. It was like, but it was that release, it was that channeling all that stuff that was going on in my own head, in my own life. Then a kid gets lost in the showers on my 3rd night in there. And I was there, the screaming. I didn't even want to turn around. I kind of knew what was going on already. I could see blood in the floor and the water. And I just sort of had a glance, and this kid just said, "Are you staying or are you going?" I was just like, "I'm going, mate." Up until that day, you know, something about looking at myself in the mirror for a long time I didn't really like. I was doing my hair, I'd look in the mirror, but just to do my hair, you know what I mean? Didn't much like, there's a few times I caught my eye in the mirror and whoa, like I didn't like it. Didn't like the person I'd become, didn't like the person looking back at us. I'll take it. I'll fight anyone for 100 grand, anywhere. But, you know, I don't know how this is gonna pan out. You know, the same person that seems to be begging online for this fight, the same person that's got a restraining order out on me for wanting to fight him. Masculine men, it's like there's something wrong with it now.
Information covered up, censorship, corruption. The mainstream media have proven itself to be untrustworthy. I'm here to give a platform for debate, for truth, for open discussion. I'm introducing you to my podcast, Silenced with Tommy Robinson.
Who exactly is Tommy Robinson, or Stephen Yaxley-Lane?
With the English Defence League, the EDL.
The problem is with Islamic integration.
English far-right Islamophobic activists.
Since then, there's been organised protests across the country in London, Manchester, Leeds. People in their thousands are marching for Robinson's cause.
There is no such thing in this country as a Muslim.
Free Tommy Robinson!
Carlisle bare knuckle boxer Danny Christie's recent title victory has seen him move into the world's top 5. 38-year-old Christie is one of the leading contenders for the world title. With one-punch knockout power, fight experts are quick to praise the powerful Carlisle boxer and his performances so far. However, his journey has been a difficult one. From a difficult upbringing, battling drug abuse, multiple convictions leading to prison sentences and the loss of those close to him. There is no doubt he has climbed to levels of success within his field. However, what impact has his journey given him above others? And what is his plan for the future? Cameras are rolling. Danny.
Tommy.
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for the invite, Tommy.
For my podcast, and we're both sat here with our socks and sliders.
Yeah.
Say something to him about that. Every comment under all my things is, he's got socks and sliders, yeah, I have. It's comfortable.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
better.
Yeah.
Danny, you are ranked number 4, I believe now in the world, bare knuckle.
Yes, mate.
You're British champion.
Yeah.
This all seems to have happened pretty fast.
It
From
does.
me, I'm watching you. I saw you. I first saw you pop up in your online beef with a Heggie.
Yes.
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 That's where I saw you pop up, and then since then I've seen you just go up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
How's it been? But actually, before we start on that, let's go back. I want to know about your childhood. What's created the man who's sitting here now? And how old are you, Danny?
38.
You're 38.
38, mate, getting on.
So this has all come at a very late stage as well.
It has.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Curragh, Carlisle. I'm back there now. Love that place. You know, that the people. It's just home. You know, just that familiarity that everyone has with their own home. You know, that's what I've got with where I am, and I love the place. I love the people. I love the great border city of Carlisle, where I'm from. You know,
How big's Carlisle? I just know it's the last stop before we get to Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not so big.
And I know about T-Base. Is it T-Base services?
Yeah, that's right.
The best services. If you're ever driving up,
Yeah.
it's worth driving up just to go to these services. I'm telling you. It's like a farm shop food services.
That's right, yeah.
That's all I know about Carlisle.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's pretty small, about 100,000 people-ish.
Okay.
It's a city.
Everyone must know everyone in that town, because like Luton's 200,000, still everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, there's definitely that. I mean, no one can really fart without the next person knowing what you've had for breakfast. You know, It's that type of place. I just love it. You know, growing up was good. You know, there was I suppose looking back, there was a bit of trauma there, maybe without realising. You know, my dad died when I was 3. And
how did your dad die?
Drugs.
Drug overdose?
No, not so much. I mean, he had this thrombosis which killed him, but it was the drugs that caused it, really.
What drugs was he on?
He was on a whole cocktail of drugs, my dad. You know, he was an addict and he took drugs for a long time. When he died when he was young, at 27.
27?
Yeah, 27. My mum was, I think she was 18 when she had me and my mum. And when my dad died, I think my mum was 21.
Wow.
And so my mum and dad were addicts.
Your mum was an addict as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Drink, drugs, both?
Both, yeah.
Okay. Did you see that as a kid? Did you visually see it?
No, not that I remember. I mean, I'm not saying I was hid from it or anything, but I just don't ever remember it, you know. I mean, I must have encountered it.
Yeah.
I must have, but nothing that sticks.
Okay.
Nothing that sticks, and you know, I always had this real passion, like a hunger, if you like a thirst for, you know, for knowing my dad. You know, not knowing him, you know, was difficult, I suppose. Everyone that spoke about him, and you know, he was loved. Everyone loved him. You know, he had like a real psychotic side, but you know, he could fight as well. But he was like a career criminal, in and out of prison, you know, his whole life.
English, half Irish?
Half Irish. They come up from Burnley. Him and my Uncle Sean come up from Burnley. They got a judge from Burnley sort of said they couldn't come back to Burnley, you know, they'd caused that much trouble and burgled that many houses and whatnot down there, you know, they kind of
moved them up,
kicked them out. So they come up and, you know, he met my mum, and yeah, but they always had that, like I say, that real that thirst, I suppose, for knowing him. Still to this day, I still like meeting people, you know, that were his friends, people who've done prison with him. You know, I still like meeting these people and hearing tales of, you know, some of the things he used to get up to and that, and some of the stories and some of the burglaries and that. And, you know, I suppose I sort of painted him as this Robin Hood almost type picture, which he wasn't, you know, but, you know, that's just, that's how I painted him, you know. Me and my mum's always had an on-off relationship, you know, there's not a great deal of time between us, you know. I think there's about 18 years between us, and she was always more like a sister, a big sister to us, you know. And I'm not saying for a minute that she didn't love me and care, because I know she did, but there was, you know, I'm not sure she was the most like maternal person. She was never nasty. You know, she gave me a few hidings which I rightly deserved. You know, she's the first person to break my nose. You know, which I deserved, you know, 110%. By the time I got to like 10, 11, I was off the chain. You know, I was off the chain. I loved trouble.
Did you have a father figure at then if your dad died?
Yeah, my granddad. You know, I did have my granddad in my life, you know, who I called dad for a long time.
Okay.
And I was there a lot. You know, I was there a lot. And
you staying at your granddad's?
Yeah, and I could behave myself the whole time I was there. You know, and I could, you know, if he said jump, I mean, I was in mid-air asking if it was high enough. Mm. But as far as my mum was concerned, I was never ever scared of disappointing the woman. You know, it was never a thing like my mum's going to catch me doing something. It was just never once came into my mind. My granddad was different, and you know, I remember a few times being took home by the police and all this stuff, and just had a lack of care for consequences. You know, if you like. But nothing that I remember that was really bad and traumatic. But I suppose looking back, you know, there was a big absence there. A big, like, you know, that absence of father figure, I suppose. Just had a fascination with the fella, and I still have to this day.
What with your dad, you mean?
Yeah. Real fascination with him, you know, and often wonder what it'd have been like, or what I'd have been like, or what life would have been like, you know, if he was still around. And it's nice to hear all the people that know him and that, you know, they say that, you know, how proud he would have been and all this stuff. And he was from Burnley, so I've still got family down there. I love going down there. You know, that's my dad's side, and so many of them gone recently. In the last couple of years, there's just so many of them in the ground now, and it's
Passed away.
yeah, it's a shame.
What about your granddad?
My granddad,
Yeah.
my granddad died a good few years ago. It was when I was
How old was you when your granddad died?
when I was 34. I'd got into that bit of trouble that you referred to before, which was just back making videos back and forward, you know, that type of stuff.
Just to understand this, so people understand, you're both bare knuckle fighters.
Yeah,
You're both from the same town.
yeah. I wasn't a bare knuckle fighter at the time. I was a boxer.
He was a boxer, okay.
Yeah.
So you're a boxer, he's a bare knuckle fighter.
Yeah.
He was a big name in the game.
Yeah.
Online. And you just began clashing.
Yeah,
What started it?
Well, first of all, you know, I need to say how much destruction and chaos, carnage, darkness, depression, despair, all that stuff was going on in my own life. You know, I was a mess at that point, a real mess in the midst of active addiction. You know, I was troubled, to say the least. My life was chaos.
When you say active addiction, how long would you say you lived in the concept of active addiction?
Oh, I'd taken drugs ever since I was about 11.
All the way until?
Yeah, just weed for the first few years, and then took that natural progression to, you know, trips, Mandy, ease. Ease went on for years, and which at the time was a great time. You know, it's a brilliant time, that, looking back. And I think when the cocaine started, maybe early 20s, 23 or something, thereabouts. And once that door opened, it never really went away. You know, and it was just that all the time. And I had a handle on it, one of them that started doing it just 2-3 times a week. Before long, by the time my late 20s or something, you know, I couldn't put the stuff down. You know, I just couldn't put the stuff down. I was on it all the time. Early 30s, Valium came into the mix, you know, and once I discovered that, you know, that edgy paranoia type prang that you get off a wire, and the Valium seemed to take that away, you know. So I started mixing the two. It's a lethal mix, mate, and my whole life just turned to shit. You know, I split up with the wife I was with for 10 years.
And then with the wife, you've got children, haven't you?
Yeah.
How many?
4 girls.
4 girls.
4 girls. I got a son from before I was married.
Got a son from before you married and 4 girls.
Yeah.
And would you say that the reason for the breakup in your relationship was your addiction?
No, I mean, it played a part.
Yeah.
You know, but we were both at it. Okay. You know, I remember the last 3 years of that marriage just being hell on earth. You know, but we just stayed together for the kids, I suppose. But when that fell apart, I was living with a lass, and I just had no direction. I had nothing. For so long, and without realising, I had no goals. I spoke about it once the other week, and someone asked me what I wanted to be when I was growing up, and I said nothing. That's what I wanted to be when I was growing up. I didn't want to be nothing. I had no ambition or no goals or nothing. I didn't want to be anything. Didn't want to be anything. You know, if you asked me what I wanted to be, no one ever asked me what I wanted to be. But if anyone did, I couldn't have told them. I didn't know. And the irony is, you know, by the time I was in my early 30s, that's exactly what I was. You know, I was nothing.
Did you have a trade?
No, scaffolder.
Scaffolder.
I mean, I was a scaffolder.
Okay.
But it was just, you know, it was still nothing. You know, it was just, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
No coordinates, no direction, no goals, no ambition, no nothing, mate. Just a lying, cheating, robbing bastard. Do it, but got to that point when the money gets scarce, and I'll do anything. I taxed so many people.
You what, taxed them?
Yeah.
Took money off them?
Taxed so many people, money and drugs off people, you know.
Drug dealers, you taxed them so they had to pay you?
The last one I done, I think I was about 33. I attempted it on Boxing Day, and I got stabbed 3 times. My leg, my armpit, and all the way through my arm.
So what, you were going around bullying the drug dealers as such?
Yeah, just jacking the box. Just jacking the box in them and trying to scare them and that. And
making them give you stuff?
Got away with it a few times until that last time it went wrong. And
you got stabbed?
I got stabbed 3 times, yeah.
How old was you then?
33.
It's not even that long ago then.
Nah. And even that wasn't enough.
No.
It wasn't enough for me to stop that lifestyle I had. And it wasn't enough. Just nothing. I don't know what it was I needed. And I'm running up to what I'm about to say, how lost I was and where I was. All that shit that was going on. So this other lad from this town was making these mental health videos, and he was parading like disabled kids and that about who I knew. You know, look at me helping this person, you know, and I just seen all the badness in it, I seen all the wrongness in it, I seen it for what it was. And I was at a barbecue one day, I hadn't mentioned what I'd seen, I hadn't piped up about it. I was at a barbecue one day, and this disabled lad, well, I was at the barbecue with his mum and dad, and his mum and dad said, we got talking about this video. You know, I said, I seen your son in this video the other day. And she was like, yeah, you know, could you believe he took him off us for 2 hours saying he was going to help us and help him and stuff. And when he dropped him back off, he tried to bill us for his time. You know, he wanted something like 60 quid for the 2 hours. What he'd had, this lad. And that was it. I thought, right.
That's the start of your beef.
I didn't have a phone or anything. I didn't have social media. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a Facebook. I didn't have nothing. I had graft phones all the time. So I went home. I rang a mate and said, "You got on a smartphone?" I said, "Come round here. So I want to start something here." So he come round, held the camera up for it, and I just went off on one. I was just like, "You, I know what you're up to, mate." You know what I mean?
And what did that your mate put that video online?
Yeah.
I guess that went viral.
Kind of blew up, yeah.
Around the town especially.
Yeah.
You're both
it blew up.
faces in the town.
Blew up, and then that's how it started. It went back and forward. He'd make one, he was going to do this to me. You know, the lad didn't scare me one bit, you know, and so I was making them back. In the end, I was trying to arrange this fight between me and him, a gloved fight, which I got organised. I got a date on a show over Newcastle at the NE6 suite in Walker. Got this show. You know, me and him were going to fight on a show. I just wanted my hands on him, really. During this time, I was finding out things that he'd done, you know, and speaking to people who he'd done things to. And I started mentioning that as well. You know, and obviously that wasn't too good for the image he was trying to sell. And all of a sudden, the replies stopped coming. You know, the replies stopped coming, so kind of upped the ante me and started going in more and started trying to... I wanted to make him want to fight me, you know, because of the stuff I was saying and putting out there what I knew about him. Then...
What does he say about all these allegations? Does he deny all these allegations?
Yeah.
He denies them.
Yeah. I think he sort of wavered in and out of brushing on him and touching on him, and, you know, and then he might know nothing and that. But, you know, since then I've just I don't think about that stuff anymore, and I'm not trying to convince you, or I'm not trying to convince anybody of what I know or what I've been told. You know, I know what I know.
When you say you don't think about it, is that because of the negativity it brings?
Because it cost me my liberty, mate.
Explain that. So yes, let's get to that, because you ended up in prison, right?
Well, going back and forward with the videos, he stopped replying. I upped the ante. I was going in. You know, I was making these videos of a proper violent nature. I was like off my nut as well. You know, bouncing around my kitchen, ripping my top off. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Just give me a location. And the replies stopped coming. Then the police come to the door. You know, there'd been multiple statements put in, and I was arrested for harassment and malicious communications.
He'd gone to the police?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, even though I was arrested and I was going down the station, I was like laughing, thinking, this is brilliant for my videos. Okay. You know what I mean? We've got a grass here. You know, and so they let me out. I took to the camera again immediately. You know, I said, we've got a midnight mass here in the mist, and guess what's just happened? I've just been locked up for calling names. And that was a breach of my bail, wasn't it? And that was witness intimidation then. So my feet never touched the floor.
So then you were remanded?
So I got remanded in Durham, yeah.
For a video?
For making videos, yeah, for calling names. And I was told while this was going on, when when I come back, I was locked up for the first about 12 week.
On remand.
On remand. And
Was this your first time in jail?
Yeah.
This your first time in jail?
First time in jail
Oh
at that point.
Jesus, you've had this chaotic life,
Got away with so much.
got away with everything.
Yeah.
And then you've gone to video for name calling.
Yeah.
You've gone to jail for name calling on videos.
Yeah.
That's what got you behind bars.
Yeah, I mean,
Mad.
it was what it was, and I was told, you know, by me barrister that all I had to do was make a counter allegation, and it would have went away.
Because he was making videos of a similar nature about you, saying things about you.
That was it. You know, but because I refused to do so, and
why did you refuse to do so?
mate, I ain't putting a statement in against another man for calling me names, you know.
Okay.
And
fair enough.
and that's how it is, you know. But there was times in prison when I wished I had, when the sentence came down. You know, there was times when I wished I'd done it, but I mean, it was what it was, and I've got no regrets now.
And what was the set? So you done 12 weeks on remand.
12 weeks on remand. My granda was dying, so I got out. I got this compassionate bail with immediate release because of the position I'd had, because I've had the position he'd been, and the influence he'd had to me, and with me calling him dad for so long. They let me out to go and see him. So they let me out. I got picked up by the ex-wife. Embracing the kids when you get out of prison is something else, you know.
It's almost worth going, isn't it?
Almost, mate. You know, it was unbelievable. It's like I've had that a few times in my life. You know, when you get in, you're in that hole, you swim through that river of shit for so long. When you get to the end of it, it's like it's nearly worth it. You know what I mean? It's almost worth it.
I know the feeling, bro.
Yeah, I bet you do. You know, and so I went out first. Job number one, obviously, going to see my granda. That's the reason I was out. Went straight to Carlisle. I went and seen him. Walked into his house and his bed was downstairs, and he'd lost a lot of weight, you know, and he'd been given a week to live. I went in and I held his hands, and his eyes were stuck together with like sleep, if you like. He couldn't open his eyes, and I said, "Grandad," and he heard my voice. He was like, "Is that Danny?" He put his hand out, and I held his hand, and you know, he said some of the nicest things that he's ever said to me, you know, and I'll never ever forget that day. And I promised him, you know, I was going to get better. And I promised him I was going to be the best person that I could be. You know, because I hadn't been. He thought I was away working. You know, we couldn't even tell him that I was in prison because it'd have killed him. You know, I mean, it was just that, I was just that much of his like blue-eyed boy, if you like. Yeah. So I held his hand, and my mum and that was saying he has yogurts in the morning. So I was sat there for about the best part of 2 hours. It was difficult seeing him like that, but I says, I'm going to come back in the morning and I'm going to give you your yogurt. And I went home and he was dead within the hour. And ultimately, you know, I have so much gratitude for that moment, for him being able to get that opportunity, you know, to hold his hand in his dying hour, for him to say some of the things that he said to us. It was powerful, man.
What did he say, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, me and my mum had a big fallout.
Yep.
And you know, he told me he forgave me for that. You know, and
he was your mum's dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and he told me that...
You had a serious fallout?
Yeah. I mean, he stopped talking to me.
Okay.
You know, which was my own fault.
Yeah.
But he said that me and my mum, you know, are the closest two people to him ever. And he says, and I need you two to get on before I move on, was his words. You know, before I move on. I need you two to get on. You know, and he said, anything that you want, Danny, you can have. You know, he said, and I've seen it in you since you were a young lad. You know what I mean? He says, you can have anything you want. He says, and you've always chose to have nothing. And he says, why don't you choose to have everything? And you can have it, you know. And I was fighting back the tears, just speaking to him, and I had to stay strong, you know. I was actually crying, tears around my eyes, but I was trying not to let him know I was crying because he couldn't see me. And yeah, and I said I was going to come back in the morning and give him his yogurt, and he was dead within the hour. So then, the hatred for this situation
got worse.
Just blew up. It was like petrol, fire.
Because you're okay. Your granddad's just died.
Yeah.
That's your second father figure you've lost.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, the problem wasn't court. The problem wasn't my granda. you know, the problem was fucking me. I was the problem. But I was blind to that at that time. I thought, right, this is to blame. This person, this situation, you know, this is all.
You blamed him for being why you've been away from your granddad for the last 3 months before he's died.
You know, and listen, at that point, I hadn't accepted my part in it. You know, that came later. That came when I got sentenced. At that point, it was just, you know, I'm dealing with a grass here, and this is his fault. You know, that's how I seen it, wrongly. Yeah. That's how I wrongly seen it, but that's how it was at that time. I was back at court. I got sentenced for witness intimidation without violence. It was like the lowest one. Harassment and malicious communications. And I got 18 months. And
It's a big sentence.
With my remand knocked off, I think I've done about 7, something like that. And I went back to Durham. And I was waiting on my Cat D because I immediately qualified for Cat D because of the category of my offence.
Yep, online, nothing.
And I was 3-4 days into remand on Durham, sentencing. But I was in a remand jail and I was waiting for my allocation. I was talking to a screw about my allocation, and as I was talking to him, somebody pushed in front of me in the dinner queue. And I still had that problem. I used to love fighting in jail. You know, I love fight anyone in jail. I used to love fighting in jail. It was that release. It was that channeling all that stuff that was going on in my own head, in my own life. You know, into like a physical fight. You know, and I got a massive release from it.
Yeah.
You know, and the more fights I could get in, the better. You know, and I loved that stuff. You know, especially in prison when you know you've only got 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, I could do some damage in 30 seconds, and. This kid pushed in front of me anyway, and I'm not even sure I was going to do anything until I asked him. I said, you know, do I not exist to something? What are you doing? And he just looked over his shoulders like, deal with it, mug. And I don't know if 10 or 20 seconds went by, and I was just like, I don't know why. We were in the door of the canteen by this time, and I drove an elbow into his ear. I split his ear, and he went down, and I fired a couple of kicks in. Then I got took down by this screw, and I forget his name, but people who's been to Durham will know him. He's like, he does the jiu-jitsu and that, the little one with the cauliflower ears. He just tied me up like a pretzel, all on his own. And I was screaming in pain. So I took back to my pad. And this lad had a bit of a firm, northeast lad. They were all shouting at me, and I was going back to the pad. I was shouting at them. Then they opened the pad door after I'd been locked up for 20 minutes. They're like, Christie, you're gonna die. You know, you're getting off this wing. You caused some chew on here. And so I went over to B wing. Well, because I was waiting for my Cat D, they come and got me 2 days later after that and took me down to Kirkham.
Which is Cat D?
Cat D, sorry, Cat D.
What's the difference? So people who haven't been to jail, so they can visualise, what's Durham like? What's it like as a prison?
Durham's, I can't glamourise it at all, because it's a shithole and it's not a nice place, but Durham's like a rowdy jail.
Yeah.
But the thing I liked about it, you know, we'd been in 4 different prisons. The thing I liked about Durham is, you know, it's our crack. They're all Geordie lads, they're all northwest, northeast lads. It's all Chavagaji mush.
Okay,
you know, it's all the same lingo, it's all the same patter, it's all the same banter.
Yeah.
And for all this trouble, you know, it's quite decent. You know where you're standing there, if that makes sense. So
you locked up most of the day?
Until I got a job. I was on 23-hour bang up until I got a job on the cleaners, and then I was away on there. That was on remand the first time. I never even got a chance to get a job the second time because I wasn't there long enough.
Okay.
So I've gone to Kirkham, which I was allocated to go to. This is after I'd hit this kid, 2 days after I'd hit this kid. I got to Kirkham. I was talking about it with you the other day, saying that, you know, I thought when I got there, I thought I was at a christening. You know, there was like women and kids all over the place. You know, like dressed up.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, women and kids, they dress up for visits anyway, don't they? Women and kids, you know, and there was women and kids all dressed up, little frilly skirts on and laughing about, ha ha ha, and prisoners everywhere. And couldn't tell the prisoners from the thing, everyone's just dressed casual and that. The food in there, mate, there's like a banquet. You know, you can just get as much food as you like. I mean, I'm talking about wings, You know, I've been in.
Or chicken wings, you're
Yeah.
not about the left wing chicken leg.
Nah, not that. Not them, mate. These are wings.
Every leg, every bit of chicken you get in jail is his
Yeah,
left wing,
that's
scrawny,
right.
hairy leg.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's mad, isn't
Yeah. Yeah, there was none of that. There was like selection, big selection. So I thought, I'm cushy in here, this will do me, you know, I'll get right into the gym, get hench. The next day they come and got us, they locked the induction wing down, and the lad I was locked up with, I said, oh, they've come for somebody here. And I was like, oh, sound, I was at the door. Then they all come for me. Christie, you know, you've got a nick and come through, and that's what the charge come through for me hitting that kid in Durham. You shouldn't be here.
It shouldn't be that cat deed because you've got to wait in another charge.
That's it. So then they took me to Preston.
Oh, Bob.
So I'd done 3 jails in 3 days at this point.
But you got to see the beauty of a cat deed.
Yeah, but I'd rather that I didn't. You know,
Yeah,
it's
of
like,
course.
here's what you could have won.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and he who giveth can take it away, I suppose. And so I ended up in Preston. I had 19 nights in there, and that was the biggest changing point in my life. That in that jail, hated that jail. If anyone's been to Preston, C1. You know, it's like a dungeon. There's no light in that. It's the induction wing, and hated it. And I was waiting to go to a Cat C, Lancaster Farms I was waiting for, and I was there 19 nights over Christmas. The portions were terrible. You know, it was like a little tiny little tray with your food coming out, like starvation rations. It was horrible in there. And it was very much like Durham, that Victorian setup.
Oh, they're both Victorians.
Yeah, but
like Bedford.
But the difference was like the people. You know, it was like for all it's only Preston down the road, but it's all Manx and Scousers, and
Yeah.
you know, so it's like
Northwest.
you get all that G in that. You know what I mean? Like it's not like there's no Chavagaji mush. Like it's like
Chavagaji mush is down by Portsmouth as well. When I went to Winchester, it was all pretty much like that as well. Because I think it's. Do you know why? I think it's predominantly white.
Right.
That's a predominantly white culture. When you get to our jails, our local jails, all the white boys are talking like they're black.
Yeah, right.
And the cultures took over.
I see. Yeah, and that was very much what down there, different, like a different language almost, the different vibe, different feel, and it was a violent jail as well.
Yeah.
Then a kid gets slashed in the showers on my 3rd night in there. Some Scouser slashing another Scouser. And I just heard the screaming. I didn't even want to turn around. I kind of knew what was going on already. I could see blood in the floor and the water. And I just sort of had a glance, and this kid just said, "Are you staying or are you going?" I was just like, "I'm going, mate. Now finish my shower, me. I'm off." You know what I mean? And naughty to see someone get opened up like that. But on the 22nd, I believe it was, of December, the chaplain come and got us. I've spoke about this before. This was like the biggest changing point in my life. My auntie from Burnley had died, and I loved that woman. You know, I loved that woman. I was so close to her. I was down there all the time. We spoke on the phone regular. I love that woman, you know, and I miss her so much.
And I went. Relation with your father's then?
Yeah, my dad's sister.
Dad's sister. Okay, so you kept contact with your dad's sister all the
way?
Yeah. Okay.
And my dad had 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and I loved them all. You know what I mean? I was always so close to them all. I love them all. My auntie Carol, you know, I was like, perhaps that one I think I was closest to out of them all.